Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome back. This is Pao from Creating Purpose with Pao, and I want to welcome you to the Spanglish World Network and Heart Network on channels 250 and 251 on Zingo TV. Please remember to download Zingo TV on the respective app store. When you download it, please make sure that you leave a comment, that you rate it, you let us know how we're doing our job. The app is totally free. Single TV is available in Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV Stick, Roku Stick, and all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. So today in the house, I have a beautiful soul, my friend Annette Ramrattan. She is a neuroencoding specialist as well as a brain health trainer. She's a transformational coach who inspires people to thrive and overcome challenges that keep them, feeling stuck. She has a 25 years of experience in corporate world. So she knows, what it's like to be stressed out whenever there is a deadline. She knows what it's like to not take care of herself because she's so worried about working. She has a beautiful dog and she's here to share her experience with us. So I welcome you and I sent you a hug. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to say I love your work. I love watching the talks, discussions that you have with the people you bring on. So congratulations and continued success.
Thank you so much. So please share with our audience a little bit about you so they get to know you more.
Well, as you stated, I'm an elite neuroencoding specialist and brain health trainer. And the path here has been colorful, adventurous, and it's, as you said, I have 25 years of corporate experience. So being here as I'm still a corporate professional. Well, I'm still a professional in the financial industry, but then I also moved into the coaching realm. And what brought me here was my own personal experience. So can't wait to share and, answer any questions you might have for me.
Yeah, so anybody that is live, if you have any questions, you're welcome to write them down on our chat and we'll answer them for you. So let's begin. Let's get this conversation started. What would you tell someone, whose career no longer defines them? And it's because they're no longer needed.
Well, what happens, think back to when we were children, right? So when you're a child, you have this big imagination and you're like, I can do anything and I can be anything. And as you grow older, like whether it was an adult that told you it's not possible or you can't do that or whatever it might be, we start to dwindle down on those dreams and those visions we have for ourselves, right? So then we grow up and it's like, okay, I have to make a living. I need to maintain myself. What am I going to do? And many of us go to college and, pick a subject to study and, come out and work in the working field, in the working world. But sometimes we're not fulfilled. And either way, we have to earn a living. So we have a job. And, as we go on in life and have more experiences, we begin to identify ourselves with this thing. We attach ourselves to a label, to a title, and we kind of like might lose ourselves. So one of the things I would say for someone who might be in the industry and had the unfortunate experience of losing a job, understand that that's not who you are at your core. It's an unfortunate event that might have happened, but tapping into who you are at your core is what will help you bounce back quicker.
I love that. Yes, because sometimes I've met people, that they're attached to that profession and they identify to their core value. That's who they are. And what that is taken away from them, the environment is taken away from them, and they're lost because they were the accountant. It's like I am accountant and the job is no longer there. So they feel lost and they don't have a solid foundation. But in reality, like you're telling us right now, is like you're way more than your profession, like to your core. And that's where this trying to know who we are, it's a beautiful uh, journey.
Mhm. And one of the things I would also share is like the experience that I had at the last company I worked for. I was there for 10 years, a decade. And before I started that position, I had this I was telling the story the other day. I had this massive confidence where I even remember that I was on another job interview, and the recruiter at the time said, "Hey, Annette, there's this opportunity at this luxury company." It wasn't scheduled, but either way, I was like, well, you know what? I have a train to catch in 40 minutes. So if they can see me in the next 30 minutes, I'll skip the train, but I'll go in and have the interview and we'll see what happens. Long story short, it was just like they had to meet my schedule, not me meet theirs, right? So, long story short, I ended up having the interview. And when I got the position, this the receptionist had said to me, "Oh my God, they had interviewed so many people before you. It is wild." And but the thing is that as I worked for that company, and I was so impressed with the gentleman. He was a self-made billionaire, in this, and the diamonds and the jewelry that was part of that company were mind blowing. I would always sit there and say, one day I'll be able to buy one of these. But what I want to say is that what ended up happening was I lost myself in that identity, right? So, Midtown Manhattan, luxury area, I just felt like, oh wow, I made it, right? Like, wow, I got this great
Hmm.
position, and didn't realize that I was literally one of those jewels, right? Like they call it diamond in the rough, right? So
Yes,
I
yes,
I left there when I was let go. It was like so many things came up, like, what did I do wrong? Am I not worthy? How could they do this to me? And it was just like, literally, I was polishing myself while working there, right? Think about it. i
yes,
was i was that diamond in the rough. So that experience literally allowed me to shine, and I'll go into that more as we continue.
yes. Thank you for sharing that because, when pain comes our way, first, if we are not aware, if we're not aware of our human side, of our ego, that first response of that pain is fear, resentment, grief, like guilt. Why me? You
Yes.
begin so it's like that's why awareness is so important for all of us to develop, to know, that okay, am I acting with my ego, or am I acting with my divinity? It's like, am I able to, am I developing that divinity
Mhm.
with this behavior? And I think it's like beautiful to be able to be aware of how we are reacting towards the situation. So yes, so how can we overcome this victorious end of the situation after losing a job?
So just understanding that that event, it's an event that took place. It's not your life that was taken from you. It was an event that took place. And with that, taking a moment and thinking to yourself, what can I learn from this? Or what opportunity is coming my way because of this now? What is it that I get to do versus what is it that I lost? Right.
Oh yes,
So
begin
with
to see the opportunities.
mhm. And with that, I feel that also any position that I held, and I could sit here and list company after company, because I always felt that there was an opportunity to grow or there was an opportunity to learn. So in my career, I bounced around in the next opportunity. So as the years went by, because I had to put myself through school. So, I started with the supermarket job, and then I went into cashier, then I went to a bank, and then through school, then I ended up working for the mayor's office in New York City. And so there were so many positions that I held, but it was always because I needed to maintain my, earn an income, but also I wanted a career. So as I continued to grow into the corporate realm and became an accountant, then there was the public accounting firm that I worked for. So it was like you go into work, you never know when you're leaving, kind of thing. And those who are in that industry can relate. And then I left the public accounting industry and went into corporate. So with that being said, it was something that, you know, what I took, I always thought to myself, what can I take from each position? How can I grow myself in this position so that I'm better at the next company I work for, or whatever, you know, whatever it is that I want to do later on, it's something I can take with me. So that's the victory in it, right? Of how
Yeah.
can you grow and what can you take from your experiences?
Awesome. Thank you for sharing this because the foundation of this show is growth. Is like to bring our beautiful audience material for them to grow because whenever we grow, we're able to give more. We're able to be more for our spouses, our children, boyfriends, whoever we have around, we're able to give more. And it is in giving that we truly receive. So thank you for sharing this. Yes, it's like, how can I grow? How can I become better at this moment in time? So whenever it's time for me to go to another job, then I'll be even more. I'll be able to give more. I'll be able to serve more. So, yeah. So anybody out there that might be in this boat that maybe you weren't expecting it, the job was taken away from you. You have two options. You can either be in that pain and react as a human with no spirit, with no education, and what I mean no education is like not sometimes we react, and that's why over here in this show is like I always invite all of our audience to educate their mind. So that's what I mean whenever it's like your mind has not been educated yet enough for you to be aware, and maybe a lot of people is like, okay, fear, because oh my gosh, how am I going to pay my bills now that that job was taken away from me? Resentment, why me? I've always show up on time. It could be that it was the fundings are not there anymore, right? But the resentment is there, what like trying to find an explanation why you lost the job, the grieving, the guilt, what I'm going to tell my spouse, or I'm going to tell my family that, embarrassment because it's like it happened to me. I experienced that. I didn't pass a test, so I couldn't teach anymore. So I was like, oh, in my experience is like I was born in a Catholic family, so praying and faith has always been very strong. Every time I talk to my mom, my grandma, you gather, God is always a part of the conversation. So at that time when that happened to me, is like I just got a hold of faith. But I was feeling the guilt, the embarrassment, fear, what's gonna happen next. Is like your certainty is no longer there. It's been moved. So you're like, oh, what do I do next? So it's like it's a moment of panic. That is, as you ease and analyze the situation, like you're inviting us to ask, it's just the event. What can we learn from this event? What can we grow? And you're sharing, what can I learn from this? What opportunities do I have? What do I get to do now? I love that question. So yes, thank you. Uh, how can we discover, or how can we build our true identity, like our uh, core values? Like how can we get to know each other more?
Well, one of the things I just want to revert back to is, and this also goes into the identity piece, is also acknowledge what you have done. What are things that you have accomplished? And it can go back to like elementary school, whatever it might be, that great drawing that you did. There are so many things that we have done and accomplished in our lifetime that we don't take a moment to acknowledge and understand that we have that potential inside of us. So going into the identity piece is, whatever you put after the words I am is your identity. That creates your identity. So what are you saying to yourself? What are sometimes we do things like a quick thing. Before we got on the call, I'm, setting up the camera and I'm kind of looking at the lighting and everything. And I and I look at my eye and I'm like, why does one eye look different from the other? And I'm trying to figure it out. Like, is it the lighting? And I realized that even my makeup, I did it wrong. Like I just missed something. So I just started laughing. Like
Ah.
I could have sat there and be like, Annette, how could you be so silly? Or you're an idiot. Things that we say to ourselves in a moment's time. It's like, no, wait a minute. I just made a mistake, and laugh about it, and just know that you can fix it as long as you're still breathing. You can do better next time, or whatever it might be. So understanding that whatever you're saying to yourself, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am, healthy, I am happy, all these things that you can say to yourself and understand that that's your identity. So if you yeah, I can say, I'm an elite neuroencoding specialist, I'm a brain health trainer, I'm an accountant. Okay, but is that really who Annette is? No, Annette is so much more than that. So, writing out what you feel and believe about yourself and saying those things to yourself so that it's part of who you are and who you become.
I love it. Yes. And, success builds on top of success. So if you're having a hard time right now, like Annette is inviting us to ask, what have I done that has been so good? What have I done, that I made others feel amazing as I felt like I was serving? What have you done in the past? It could be, that you won a contest when you were in elementary, or maybe you ace a test that you thought it was so hard. You was like, what have you done so well that you can bring that back? And it's like, oh wow, I did that. I wonder what else I can do. And what Annette is inviting us is to stop telling us, you know, that we're not enough, that we messed up, that I probably not fast enough. And I try to stop. I teach at the high school, so I try to stop my students, and I try to stop my children too, whenever they say something that is not pleasant. Oh, I am this, and it's like, you're not. It's like reword the question because I've seen you doing this, this, and that, and I think that's amazing. So it's like teaching our children, our nieces and nephews, whoever you have around that you hear that they're calling themselves an ugly word. It's like, no, no, you're more than that. And that's what we're inviting you today to choose to grow, to choose to not to use that vehicle of anger, the vehicle of guilt, the vehicle of fear and resentment if you're going through a hard time, but begin to use a vehicle of faith, begin to use, a vehicle where it's going to allow you to expand your identity, to expand your love a little bit more. Because every time we choose to use that vehicle, it might hurt at first. We might not know how to do it. We might try and we fail, but if we try again, then that's going to take you to a life where you get to know yourself, that you are more than what you thought before, that you're amazing, that you are working on being a better mom, a better, whatever you do in life. Is like, if we choose to ride that vehicle of what we're going to stretch our identity a little bit more, stretch our love, our awareness, then we are on that path that Annette is inviting us to go to, where we become victorious. We get to see what we're able to do. So thank you for that.
Yep. And one other thing, there's this exercise that I take clients through that we all learned as neuroencoding specialists, and it's an identity, creating an identity statement for yourself. And, we take these words that are, we come up with our words of what we believe, who we are, and those empowering words like you mentioned, and we create this beautiful statement, and saying that to yourself over and over, making sure that it's part of your day. You're training your brain, you're training your nervous system to embody that. So that's an important piece also. If you can create an identity statement for yourself, or connect with this community, that's something we love to do. I love to see the reaction of my clients and people I take through that exercise. They're like, oh my God, I love it. I say my statement all the time. It's very powerful, very powerful.
Yes, and you train your muscle whenever you're having a hard day and you're trying to ride that vehicle of anger or fear, then you're like, no, I no longer choose to ride that vehicle because I'm learning to see who I am. I am amazing, I'm trustworthy, I'm love, I'm faith, I'm compassionate, I'm kind. Then you develop that awareness. You're like, I don't want to ride that vehicle anymore because it doesn't take me to great results. But if I ride this vehicle, then I feel much better and make others around me feel good.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yes, we need to. We'll see. Maybe in the future we can. I'm on the process of trying to build a community, and then we can have a workshop or something like that we can teach our community the identity statement. So yes. Okay, now that you mentioned that, tell us what you do, and like if there's anybody in our audience that would like to know more about you, your services, where should they go?
Well, I'm on all social media platforms, and I have a link tree thing on my Instagram, Facebook, where you can book an appointment or book a discovery call, or just follow me. And I have a Facebook group, as you mentioned, a community also. So, yeah,
Okay, good. What's the name of your Facebook group?
passionately living with a
Okay,
passionately
passionately
living with a net.
with Annette. Okay, well, thank you. If anybody is enjoying this content, you can watch the replay on my YouTube channel, Paola Guthrie. You can also find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. There is a group, and oh, but that's in Spanish. We also have a show in Spanish. So, anyways, just follow me in Instagram and LinkedIn, and give us comments as in what do you like and what you don't like, and who do you want me to invite, just to bring more value to all of you. So, Annette, what was your biggest blessing from your life transformation of losing a job, the diamond job, that made you into a more brighter diamond?
The biggest blessing was helping me transition into what is my life's purpose, basically. And I really feel that if that event did not take place, I would have never been brave enough to step into what it is I want to do. And so again, when the event took place, oh, I literally, just going back to that moment when I got the news, I gracefully said, well, thank you. Thank you for the time you have allowed me to work here. And um, I went, like anyone who's been let go, you go and you pack your little things, whatever case may be. But I did it with grace, and as I was leaving, like I went, whoever I came across, I said, hey, I'm leaving. They let me go. And I gave them a hug, like, and they were like, and that, because I like to joke around. So they're like, you're lying. You're such a liar. And I said, no, they let me go. And I just want to, say bye. And so even in the moment, I chose to to be in grace rather
Great.
in anger or in fear. And then as the days went on, then all those other emotions come up, right? Like, oh my God, again, like, why me? And what am I going to do now? And but what ended up happening was I took time and I traveled. I decided I was going to go on a trip to clear my mind. And thank God for the personal development industry. I went to I went to an event. I went to a Tony event, and something where I remember like asking my supervisor to take off for it, and he was like, "No, we can't. That we can't have you out those days," and I had to postpone it. So it's all these things that it was like, wow, now I get to do these things.
Yeah.
So I found the joy in what it is that I was able to do at that time. And then slowly but surely, I believe that I was not sure if I wanted to remain in the corporate world or I wanted to take that chance in faith and stepping out into having the business I always wanted. So that's what I did for the first year or so. I played around with what's it called, network marketing. I traveled like crazy. I said, I'll never do accounting again. Never, ever, ever. I kept telling everyone. And they were like, well, give me your resume. Or, I know someone who knows someone. I'm like, nope. If it has to do with accounting, nope. But
Ah,
God always knows what you need. So literally, I think the second year, someone that knew me from the industry reached out that had another high-end jewelry company and said, "Hey, Annette, do you think you can help me? I trust you." And I was like, you know what? I will do it only if you hire me as a consultant. And hearing those words come out of my mouth, I was shocked because it was a moment of faith, right? Because I was always an employee up to then. So to say, okay, I'll do it, but only if you hire me as a consultant, that was me stepping out in faith. I didn't know what I was going to do or how it was going to work out, but I never looked back after that. I have remained a consultant, and here I am now, and I have also a coaching business. So it's believing in yourself.
that is, but it took someone to say, hey, the job is taking away,
Yes.
you know, and sadly, we won't be needing this position anymore. It shook your world. It took your uncertainty. It messed with your significance,
Yes.
And those are the times where we have the opportunity to choose to grow. Like you said, with grace, you were grateful. You said goodbye to everybody, and you begin to see, now it's like, what do I get to do? And that's beautiful. It's like how you turn it around, and now it gave you the opportunity to own your businesses. So that's beautiful. Now, on one of the first time I ever interviewed you was back in like more than a year ago when I just started interviewing people. uh you share a story about your panic attacks.
Yes.
So could you please share with us what a panic attack looks like?
So just the backstory, so people don't think like, well, what is she talking about?
Yes.
When I was in my late 20s, um, actually as a teenager, I started getting these episodes, and I didn't have a label for it. I didn't know what they were, and I would have these episodes, and then for literally about a span of 10 years or so, I didn't know when it would happen, what they were, until the deep depression from losing my mother, you know, was like a bombshell. And then the panic attacks led me to, like, really bad, led me to an emergency room. And I mean, you feel like you're dying. You feel like, yeah, I never think, I can't say I've had a heart attack, but maybe someone who has can relate. You're feeling like, your chest is tight, your heart is racing uncontrollably, you're losing your breath, so like you're short of breath and really nervous, like, so you have like these chills. And again, it's different for anyone who's had a panic attack, what might describe it different. But for me, it was all of that, like, the heart, the can't breathe, nervousness. And then I would find it so, like, it would just happen so fast that I would lose sight. Like, I would just go into that, and it was because I wasn't breathing right. and shortness of breath, you cut off the oxygen to your brain kind of thing. But it would happen so fast. And then, me not understanding what was happening with me, I would always brush things under the carpet, under the rug, and be like, oh, that was just something crazy. But I'm fine. I'm fine. So that kept happening, not often, but sporadically throughout the years. And as the later years came, it got worse. It started happening more often. And I believe it's because of the depression also, where I was just losing myself. And you talk about losing identity. That's where I saw, myself in my worst. And I did not recognize who I was. So a panic attack, not only do you have the physical stuff going on, you have the mental stuff going on. And the stamina that a panic attack, anxiety, falls under mental health was like, wow, me? Really? That can happen to me? Or this is happening to me? So it was just such a whirlwind. And it came a point that I almost became a hermit because I was afraid that it would happen in public again, or that I needed to ask for help because I never wanted to ask for help. I never wanted anyone to know what was happening with me. So that started a whole different journey for me.
Wow. So how did you knew that that's what it was? Like, how did you ask for help?
Well, I was I was going to school at night, and after working, and one night when I arrived at school, it was like, I guess, the worst one ever. And but again, I was sitting in class, and I felt like the whole world was on my shoulders at that. Like I just could not bear what was happening in that moment. And I looked over at a classmate and I said, "Hey, I don't feel well. Could you help me to the bathroom?" And I mean, literally, I was a mess. But she said, "Hey, let me help you get into a taxi, or let me call the ambulance." And I was like, "No, no, no. Again, no, 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 I'm fine." So I left the school, and trying to make my way home, it was just too much. So I ended up looping back to the nurse's station, and then they called the ambulance. And when the ambulance came, my heart rate was like at 190 something. It was ridiculous. And they rushed me to the hospital. And with that being said, um, again, when I was released, it was just like a quick, with let's say a 2 month window where I ended up visiting the hospital 2 or 3 times for the same thing. So that third time, the nurse said, "Hey, we're going to have someone come in, a social worker, to speak to you." And then the social worker mentioned, "Have you ever heard of anxiety?" And I was like, "No, I don't know what that is." "And have you heard of panic attacks?" I'm like, "No, I don't know what that is." And she had the discussion with me of what it is, what it falls under, and I would need to speak to a therapist if, for the help that they recommend. So it just opened up this whole new world of like, oh, that's what's happening. And now I mean, that was over 20 something years ago. So now it's more spoken. Now it's more open. Now you hear it. So it's different if someone's experiencing that. But the shame, not, I don't want to say the shame, but the label, the stamina is still there, right? So I want to help people say, hey, have that initial conversation. If that's something you're dealing with, don't suffer in silence. Like that's the worst thing you can do. Once I started speaking about it, like, wow, that happened and this is how it feels. And then people were started saying, wow, I know someone that suffers from that, or I know someone that happened to. So I felt, I knew then that it wasn't alone, but up until then, I kept holding it in and keeping it to myself. So once you open up that, you know, start having those conversations, you open up a whole new world to yourself, and that starts the healing process and the journey into getting better and understanding what it's all about.
I love what you just said. Yes, whenever we stop hiding it, and it's like it's part of my life, and I'm learning to manage it and I'm learning to live with it. Do you know anybody, that might be uh, dealing with the same situation? It's like that's beautiful whenever we become honest and say, okay, yeah, I'm dealing with this situation right now. And it's like you just bring, you heal. It's like you automatically begin to heal because you're not hiding it, and that's beautiful how you're inviting others as well to relate to your story. So thank you for sharing. Are you still experiencing them?
No, I cannot say that I get panic attacks, panic attacks that will put me in a hospital or anything like that. Anxiety might creep up, but from then to now, it's something that I learned my triggers. I learned how to condition myself. I learned that I'm in control of my thoughts, that there are things that I can do for self care that are necessary to avoid the stress levels to, get me to that point. So there's so many things that I had to learn for myself in being able to overcome that. And yes, there is counseling and therapy and medication, but that's like a band-aid. I feel like that's a band-aid. You really need to understand and put in the work so that you can really overcome it.
Thank you for saying that. Okay, so how could you share with us how has, like, what are some of the strategies and techniques that you used or maybe you still use now that could help anybody in our audience right now?
Mhm. Well, that one I mentioned before. There's an acronym that I use in speaking to people about it, and it's called SMILE. So a smile alone can lift up your
Ah,
your energy and help you like get out of it. Like there's smiling, there's the power pose. There's so many things you can do in the moment where you feel it creeping in. There's meditation, connecting with nature, being grounded, even taking a book and just sitting somewhere and reading, losing yourself in the words. Music. Oh my God. Don't get me started on music. Like music can so much. And
oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna have to share this because now that you say music, your mom was from Puerto Rico,
yes,
and I bet she danced amazingly. And your dad, cause is from India, right?
Indian Trinidad, but he's born in Trinidad.
And they dance fabulously. It's like the way they move is like, so I can only imagine how, living in those two cultures allow you to love music as well as dancing skills.
Yes, yes, yes. I love, I mean, music is everything to me. And, my dog, like you mentioned, a pet is a very calming experience. So losing yourself when playing with your pet, children, like the energy of a child, like that can snap anyone out of that those moments, those challenging moments that they're having. Exercise, staying hydrated, and again, in those moments that the anxiety is creeping up, taking your power back, right? So we have that poem that the amazing Joseph McClendon shared with us, and everything begins with the way you're thinking. And we learned, as I think, so I feel, as I feel, so I do, as I do, so I have. And that literally flows into all parts of our lives, right? And I just remind myself when it's just like life, as I say, might be feel like too much in the moment, stop, right? We have that stop technique that we learned also. Stop and learn how to get yourself out of it. Like just, I mean, it's you. It begins with you. So that's the techniques that I use.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, it's like we're in control. And we have, like, here we go back what I was telling early. I don't want to offend anybody about education. What I mean is like educating our mind and is educating our thoughts because we're moms, it's like you are a beautiful aunt, you're professional, you have your clients. So the better we educate our mind, the more we grow, the more we can give to others, the more love we can share because we feel, better. And it is proven, like scientifically proven that it starts with a simple thought. So we get like 70,000 thoughts a day, and the majority, they're not very nice because our brain is always hearing what the news are telling us, watching what the news are telling us. We're always, our brain is always taking in the information that we see, hear, smell, touch, breathe, uh, hear. So all that makes has the language of all that information are the thoughts. So need to be aware that some of the thoughts are not real, but whenever we let one single phrase of fear be around our thoughts, then it's going to manage our emotions. And those emotions are going to lead our behavior. Our behavior leads our results in life, what we have in life. So it's like, yes, thank you for sharing this because it begins with a thought. Here we go back to like educating our beautiful mind because our brain is being programmed to keep us in survival uh, at all times. It's just trying to keep us alive.
Mm-hmm.
So it is within us that we need to choose to educate and like drive the right vehicles. Like there is the vehicle of fear, there is the vehicle of anger, there is the vehicle of love, compassion, uh, kindness. So we get to choose, and that's the beauty of life, that we get to choose. So hopefully our beautiful audience is getting content for you guys to see, that we all get negative thoughts. I get negative thoughts, Annette gets negative thoughts, but it's our way of being in control and being aware, developing that awareness that is going to improve your professional life, your marriage, your relationships, your life, whatever you are enjoying right now is like it's going to improve your life whenever you choose to get a hold of your thoughts. So thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
And
Well,
go ahead.
as Dr. Amon's content shares with us, right? So as you mentioned, those negative thoughts, he calls them automatic negative thoughts. So those ants creep in here, and it's up to us to stop them in their tracks, right? So two of the questions you can ask yourself is this true? Is this really true? When those negative thoughts come up, ask yourself, is this true? And more than likely, it is not. And second, so what is the truth, right? So again, if you have the thought of like, I'm not enough, I'm not loved, I can't do this, the truth is you are enough. You are loved, and you can do what you set your mind to do. And more than anything else, always remember that regardless of your faith, tap into your creator and know that you're here for a purpose. So,
Yes, it's like the our creator, doesn't create junk. He only creates amazing things. And what I have discovered, Annette, is that I am here to conquer myself. It's like it's one of the challenges of life. It's like, how can I grow more to serve more and conquer those negative thoughts, conquer the self doubt, conquer the fear? Like in the more we grow, here we go, the more we can serve and help humanity. Because I think, that's one of the purpose is like, how can we make this place better?
yes.
So, yes. So, what advice would you give our audience who is suffering from panic attacks?
Well, yeah, anyone suffering, again, begin with having those conversations so that you understand that you're not alone in this. You're not the only one. It's been around for a while. Like a weird, not a weird, but a funny, I don't want to say funny either, a revealing story, I should say, is that, again, I didn't know what was going on with me as it was affecting my life. But thinking back as a child, my mother experienced them, and I did not know but I would witness it as a child. And I mean, hers were like way worse than mine. And, those who speak Spanish, she would say, oh, eso fue un ataque de nervio, like, attack, a nerve attack or something, whatever they labeled it. But you didn't hear much about, going to see a therapist or medication and things like that. So, unfortunately, she suffered from that and didn't get help, right? She didn't maybe even know where to get help. So anyone that's dealing with it currently, and it could be for years. There's people who suffer from it for years, and it's just like they don't know that um, there are different techniques and different strategies in how to get yourself out of it. And some a lot of things that I hear people say is they'll say, "Oh, just get over it," or "That's nothing. You could just snap out of it." And someone who's in it is like, "What do you mean? Like, do you understand? I feel like I'm dying. Like, do you understand that how this is affecting me?" And people who respond like that of like, "Oh, just get over it. It's nothing," then that shuts the person down in wanting to share and in asking for help. So not only do I invite those who are dealing with it to be more verbal about it, but those who hear it, that are hearing about it, to be more compassionate and have more empathy. And even if you don't understand it, just be that ear for that person so that they can get out some things that they really need to share. And again, the other things is those who are going through it understand that, one of the things I remember when I was at that age and I was going through it and I really didn't know things. I didn't educate myself about it, and I didn't understand, how it affects the body and how it all starts with the thoughts and all that stuff. I just wanted to know that I wasn't going to die. That's all I wanted to know. And I remember going in for a consultation and I said, "Listen, I just want to know one thing. Has anyone ever died from a panic attack? I'm not talking about a heart attack, a panic attack." And the doctor, therapist at the time said, "Not as long as I've been practicing. I've never heard of anyone dying from a panic attack, Annette." And I said, "Really? So I'm not going to die from this as much as I feel like I'm going to die?" And he said, "No. Now, if it's a heart attack, get your butt to the emergency room." But, so that just like, I was like, oh my God, to hear that it's not going to kill me, then, and I just started like diving into like whatever book I could get my hands on, whatever I can like learn. I just started like, okay, so that's what it means, and that's how it affects people, and that's where it comes from. But even though I had that external information, I needed to really learn about how it's affecting me. And that's where the personal development piece came in. And like, okay, so, where is my pain? And where is that stress? And what took place that, got me here? What is it that self-care I wasn't doing? Or what are those things that I need to do to get better? So
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Uh, because you're bringing awareness for all some of us that were not familiar with a panic attack. You know, so it's like have that compassion. If somebody's expressing, that they're dealing with, then it's like, okay, tell me more about it. It's like create that connection where they feel that it is okay for them to share because they need to heal. And whenever we share, I think whenever we connect and we create a bond, with other people as we're sharing, then we create, we open the room for healing. Because whenever we get it out of our chest, because, we have certain things that we don't want people to know because we think like, oh, that's embarrassing. Oh, that's embarrassing. and I can only like mental health was, and I think it's still kind of not as much, but it's like type of a taboo. Now it's like there is more awareness. I was like, it's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to take your medicine. It's okay. So there might be some people out there that are still maybe, ashamed. Maybe they're driving that vehicle of fear, of guilt. Like you said, it's like, am I going to die from this? Like you had no clue till you asked the doctor, can someone died before from a panic attack? And he said no. And I bet that, gave you a relief where it's like, okay, then it gave you more peace probably to find the tools and strategies that help you handle and manage this panic attacks.
Mhm.
So thank you so much for opening, the opportunity for us to learn that we are not have not experienced, and for those who have experienced a panic attack. So one more question before we leave. I so appreciate your time. In your very personal point of view, what is the most needed lesson that humanity needs to learn to level up?
Well, for that, I'll say the top of the list is to tap into your creator. Know that you're here for a purpose. And ultimately, you are a child of God. And I have an acronym I share with my clients, which is again, SMILE. So, really quick: S stands for don't suffer in silence, M, master your moments, I, internal dialogue. What are you saying to yourself? L is for self love, love yourself. And E is for energy.
Move, move, move. Thank you so much. The time is over. I appreciate you all who are here with us today. Annette, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know that I love you and I appreciate you so much. Now, remember, you all, that it is you that give power to your talents. It is you who give life to your dreams. This show can also be heard on Spanglish World Radio. Please check out spanglishworld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you all so much. Blessings. Love. Much love.